Okay, good morning everyone, and very glad that you all can join us for this session. We're going to be talking about the future of Ethereum. Just for some context, Ethereum is one of the first successful smart contract platform. It's been around since 2015. It's attracted a lot of mindshare of users and developers. Why we're talking about Ethereum today, I think it's really, really important because a lot of the innovations that has inspired a lot of protocols, other L1 chains and stuff like that, are centered around the smart contract idea in Ethereum. And which is why this panel, we are going to dive deeper into the future of Ethereum to get a little bit of glimpse on what is to come, and so that we will understand like how do we prepare ourselves as developers and builders in this space to take advantage of the developing trend over here. So before we start, allow me to introduce our distinguished speakers here. We'll start with Thomas. Thomas is the founder of Nethermind. Nethermind builds tools such as clients for the Ethereum network, Starknet network, as well as conducts research in the Ethereum space. Next up, we have Laura, who is the Director of Strategic Initiative at Consensus, focusing on Asian strategy, and she's always looking for ways to connect the Asia continent with the Ethereum ecosystem. Next up, we have Pranshu, who is the VP of Engineering at EPNS. EPNS is the protocol for blockchain-based notifications that allows dApps to connect with their users. And we have Victor Tran, who is the CEO at Kyber. Kyber is a DEX that has been around since 2016, and they're focused on multi-chain liquidity network for traders. And lastly, we have Dustin, who is in charge of ecosystem development at Ethereum Foundation. It's a non-profit organization that aims to support Ethereum development with various initiatives such as programs, conference, and fellowship programs. And welcome, speakers. And yeah, so I think we can get started right off. And let's start with the current state of ETH, right? Post-merge. We have gone through a key milestone upgrade to bring ETH closer towards Ethereum 2.0. I think it's worth asking the panelists here, like, now that the merge is complete, what gives, like, what is next? There's all kinds more upgrades that's coming in. There's the Shanghai upgrade. Help us walk us through what is it that we should expect? Maybe we can start off with Thomas.
Hey, hi everyone, welcome. So the biggest thing to expect now in the next steps, well, this continuous building, it's not like it's the merge, it's ending something, it's more of a beginning of now shaping the proof of stake world. So Shanghai upgrade should bring the withdrawals, then the dang sharding should bring the sharding data availability for the better layer 2 support, which should bring a massive scalability. So if you track the vision for the, like, with the same demands, the transaction fees should go up to 100 times lower, but we should expect also that the demand will go up with the layer 2s bringing the new use cases, much more trading activity, maybe new derivatives protocols in the layer 2, in the financial markets, better support of the financial markets. And also the account abstraction exploration, so the better wallets, better user experience, and more wallet safety. This will be definitely a big area of research exploration. Some of that work was put aside, waiting for the merge. There was lots of brain power focused on the merge, and now those people will be just looking for the most cool things to work on next.
Sounds good. And I think I'll move on to Dustin as well, right? Since you're looking at Ethereum ecosystem as a whole, now that the merge is complete and there's all these upgrades coming in, do you see feedback from the community? Like, how do they receive this? Is there any impact to existing dApps and also future dApps that people will want to develop in the space?
I think the thing about the merge is that it hasn't changed that much, where everything continued running as it was, and the scalability will actually be delivered by EIP 4844 proto dank sharding, which is an intermediate step before we actually reach full dank sharding. So I think that the scalability will actually come from like the roll-up centric future, and a lot of it comes from like what the layer 2s are doing.
Cool that you brought up a roll-up, which is a topic that we will touch in later. But before that, I would like to hear from maybe Pranshu or Victor. We can start with Victor first, regarding the developer side of things. You've been building Kyber for a long time. Now that the merge has happened, how does that affect you in any way as well, and what is the future to come?
So actually, the merge is the event that everyone's want to see, right? And finally, it's happened, which is very, very good. And also, I agree with Dustin. It doesn't affect the dApps in any ways now, but the future is very bright. We really want to see the futures where the search, the verse is coming in, and also the push. Why? Because that future is going to bring the sharding things, right? The sharding capabilities of the Ethereum, and all the end users, they will have cheaper price of the transactions and much more capabilities of the performance. That will affect a lot with the dApps. And another thing is with the Verge. So the Verge and the push is going to cut down all the stale state, like very old state of the whole blockchain. So it is easier for the node to start participate in the network, right? And it also have the possibilities for the dApps to be a super light client. So be a light client means that you don't have to rely on like so many nodes. You have possibilities, to prove on things, and this is going to give much better securities for end users. So that is in the future is going to change a lot for the dApps that way. But after the merge, now it doesn't change much. Yeah.
Got it. Panchu, do you have anything to add in your perspective, building on the EMPS insight?
Yeah, I guess that most of the things are covered, and one thing is we have to understand how this happened basically, because having a merge is not an easy task, right? Because we already had the proof of work, and then shifting to proof of stake, it's more like changing engine of a car that is running, right? Because even if we stop a car for a while, a lot of protocols, mostly DeFi, NFT, will get affected. So I guess a Beacon chain that was running parallelly, and there were a lot of shadow forks, testnet. So I guess the efforts, that went behind this is so huge. So for the understanding, how it happened is we were prepared with a Beacon chain. A lot of efforts has been made, by a thorough testing. And one thing is we know maybe in Shanghai update, the Ether, that were logged might get withdrawn or not. It is still under discussion, right? So that's one of the reason is that we have to think that they have the enough staking capabilities so that, the environment or this whole thing should not be get attacked. So I guess when you see the whole picture from A to Z, it's such a good phenomena, and that's the reason I guess almost all of us were so excited about the merge. Yeah.
Got it. And now that the merge has completed and we still have much more upgrades to come, the scaling approach that we're going for ETH is basically using roll-ups, and I want to spend some time talking about this. Basically what roll-ups allow us to do is allow us to get higher scalability, cheaper transactions in using the security of Ethereum. And I think I want to jump back to Laura on this one. I guess a lot of adoption in the last few months or years in Asia was largely on the other alternative chains because of the transaction fees and whatnot. And roll-ups, while seem to give us that kind of promise, it's still pretty expensive right now, but hopefully with the full upgrade, we'll get something cheaper. But I wonder, do you see, in terms of connecting with the Asia strategy side of things, is roll-ups going to be a key part, and how do you get developers excited about it as well instead of the other layer ones, for example?
From the Infura's perspective, we are the one, I think, start to support, I think the first sidechain or layer 2, we support this Polygon. We make it happen 2020, which is 2 years ago. And then we also, the engineer within Infura also have the learning curve about with every roll-up technology happened, we perform as an infrastructure to understand how it works, how to make sure that we operate the node, we bring the consensus of the security on the mainnet, and at the same time catch up with all the upgrade of all these alternatively layer 1s and layer 2s at the same time. Make sure we deliver stable API or endpoint solution. But there's one thing we have been paying attention in the past few weeks is app chain and layer 3. And I think some of them, of our speakers will cover it either yesterday or today. And I remember, I think last week Vitalik wrote what he think about layer 3 is. And that's the things, from my understanding, is valuable for Asia ecosystem, because for Asian market, we are very good at innovation at the application layer. We always try to bring more experience, which is not only financial related, but more also kinds of a mix of financial and entertainment, so that we can have this closed circle happening in the internet. That's what Asian market is good at. So that's why we do see a trend actually leading by Asian market, talking about application-specific chain, talking about layer 3, and how we can form the ecosystem can be bring directly on-chain. So that's the thing I believe that everyone today already sitting in this industry is thinking about, but at the same time, I want to bring this also as a choice to all, everyone who is new to Web3, because rather than introduce a smart contract on mainnet or doing business on only alternative layer 1, layer 2, now you, as of today, you have more choice like multi-chain, you have choice like app chain. So that's make the ecosystem, from my understanding, be healthier and soundable in the long term.
Sounds good. And so you mentioned about app chain, and right now most of the roll-ups are general purpose chain. And I guess I want to jump back to Thomas. Like, what is your best prediction? Like, is now that there's going to be a lot of roll-ups coming in, there might be a possibility of application-specific roll-ups. I don't know if that's going to come in the near term, but do you see that it's going to be a winner-take-all situation, or there could be a reason for multiple different generalized purpose roll-ups to coexist, or they will have to find a way to niche themselves to differentiate against each other?
I think that one aspect of decentralization is that many users or many developers find something that they consider maybe their bet on a winning chain or a winning roll-up, and then they stick to it and they develop it, which means that there's like market of at least 3 or 4 solutions for layer 2 is very, very much likely. So I don't expect the winner takes it all, because simply people will bet on something that they say, hey, this is my brand, this is what I cheer for. And this is great because it fosters the innovation and gives more competitions. It keeps everyone running. I'm definitely excited about the Starknet, about not really just increasing the number of transactions, but also thinking of what a single transaction can do. If you package it as this like verifiable computation, do something really, really complex, run some gaming engines, run advanced calculations of the derivatives markets, and then say, hey, like, and you can verify it on chain. It really opens a lot of opportunities, new markets. We'll be talking a lot at the Starknet Vietnam about the solutions as well.
Got it. And Dustin, you floated up the idea of roll-ups earlier as well. And given that there is a saying that if Ethereum were to scale well enough, then everyone who builds on roll-up today, assuming that's the case, and when Ethereum is fully upgraded and ready, everyone will just go back to building on ETH. Is that true or false? Or there is always going to be a reason for roll-ups to continue existing down the line as well? Or is that a myth that people are just floating around?
I think generally speaking, once you have enough activity on a layer 1, you're just going to end up building on a roll-up, or roll-up centric future will end up to be your future, just because it gives you the ability to, especially we're talking about the future of a ZK rollup, it actually allows you to flip what happens in terms of the number of users to the transaction cost. Mm-hmm. It flips the thing from an L1, because when an L1 you have more users, you have more transactions, it ends up costing more. But when you have a rollup and you're doing it with a ZK rollup, what happens in that sense is that the more users that you have, the more transactions that you have, it actually splits the cost across it. It amortizes it over the single proof that you make. So I think that once you do that, you end up being more scalable because you have changed the economics of the cost per user or the cost per transaction.
Got it. Anyone else with any input regarding roll-up that you'd like to add to that? Yeah, sure.
I want to add a little bit of my perspective from the DeFi space, because Gabriel has been there for many years for DeFi. And I think DeFi is one of the most fundamental part of the Ethereum ecosystem, right? And one of the very good part of DeFi is the way for you to utilize your capitals in so many protocols at the same time, with one transaction, or like so many operations you can do just like by one transaction. And that capabilities is gonna be the biggest one for the layer one, right? Because if layer one is scalable enough and there's enough room for you to do everything there, then DeFi and all of that usage for different protocols will be on L1. But this is not all. This is not everything, because like for DeFi, I think one of the very important part is the privacy. So privacy is actually a little bit underrated right now. So for finance, right? You want to protect what you have in the wallet. You don't want other people to know. That is one. You don't want other people to know what you are doing right now. What is the strategy for you to buy which tokens, sell which tokens, or do things like that. So privacy for DeFi is very, very important. And that privacy is not being able to achieve on L1 because the blockchain is designed in a way for it has to be transparent and things like that. So I think rollup is still has to be there. Layer 2 or maybe layer 3 has to have something built with privacy. And my perspective is the futures of rollup is going to be divided into two big categories. The first one is the general one, general rollup, zero chain, zero layer 2, for example. And the second one is application focus. So for application focus one, I think for a few applications, they will focus on a few different characteristics of the services, like privacy or performance or price. So that is my perspective.
Panchu, do you have anything you want to?
Yeah, yes, like on the privacy side, one thing I really like, that he mentioned is this is very, understated. Like we don't take a lot of privacy seriously. So I guess like one other thing is like, beside DeFi and, other use cases, self-sovereign identity is also a cool thing. So the zero knowledge proof, basically like, without actually revealing your identity, you have to prove that, okay, we own this thing. So even as a credential, if we see in the SSI, we have the three things: issuer, verifier, and the holder. So even, let's say, for this event access, if we have pass on the, zero knowledge based proof credentials, what we can have is that, without revealing actual who we are, we can just, prove that, okay, the result will be in the Boolean, right? Either true or false. And I guess that's a huge benefit that, without revealing the actual identity, you are able to prove what you actually holds. So these are also very cool use cases.
Got it. So now that we've touched on how the future of ETH will likely unpack, and also on the topic of rollups as well, I think it will be good to look at, in terms of all of us here in the room as developers, what is it that's excited about when it comes to building, like what are the opportunities with regards to building application in the space. I guess I would like to go to Laura's case on your end, on Infura side, and also on Consensus. I'm sure you speak to a lot of application developers or dApp developers. What kind of ideas and what kind of new use cases that you see being unpacked with the existence of rollups and post-merge as well? What do you like to see developers building in this space using all the utilities that and infra that's already in place that you would like to suggest as ideas?
I have to say that this is something we haven't observed yet because it's only a few weeks after the merge. Mm-hmm. But I think we do have some statistics about, for example, it's not quantify statistics, but qualify saying, while I'm speaking to the Asian ecosystem, what are the topics that they are looking for. For example, most of the time we speak to who is trying to build an entertainment solution that's with blockchain related. They want to ask for experience using Ethereum, using blockchain as a database with no experience level difference than what they use in the centralized solution. For example, they want one call request to get all the data from multiple chains. And this is the thing that we, as an infrastructure service provider, thinking about at the same time. So that's why, like previously I was mentioning, at least from Asia's perspective, we notice the ecosystem is looking for multi-chain product and service. It's not in order to ensure their soundness. I clearly believe the merge bring more confidence to Ethereum ecosystem. And the soundable planning we have in the next 12 months also ensure the confidence for whoever want to build a soundable business in block that have something to do with blockchain. So that's why, we hope everyone can actually at least tell us what you are looking for as at the infrastructure layer. You don't need to worry. You must know what's happening at blockchain, but you don't need to learn about how it's happened or why it's happened, because we are the one help solving that for you.
Got it. Thomas, have you seen anything in your eyes for developers to build?
Yes, I think that's the focus of the developers will be on account abstraction as for the what improves a lot for users and potentially brings new use cases. So maybe we'll finally see something very, very solid for the identity. This is a problem that we've had for many, many years, how to really create the on-chain identity that can reuse, apply to your transactions, choose when to disclose, when not. So it comes also with these ideas of privacy. So rollups bring much of the advancement in the ZK research, so privacy solutions, the account abstraction, together with the recent papers about soulbound tokens, bring the ideas of the reputation on chain. The fact that so many people touched NFTs means that there is much better education on NFTs and understanding what they mean. So it all leads the users towards a world where they start to understand the concepts of the digital identity. And with digital identity, we also open some use cases in the financial markets, like uncollateralized loans, when you can look at the reputation of this digital identity over the years that someone doesn't want to put at stake because, well, this is something that you build for certifications, for participation, and you would require really long-range attack to take a loan and not to repay it. So I think we had stable coins, now we have fixed income from the validators with the withdrawals, and we'll have identity and uncollateralized loans and on-chain certifications and the further advancement of the notary aspect of the blockchain, this most basic one, like how to prove that you have education, that you have certifications, that you own, that you are what you claim to be.
Got it. So there's a lot of ideas like identity, DeFi and stuff like that. I think on Dustin's, on your end, when you look at, I'm sure you're getting a lot of, you've seen a lot of proposals or stuff like that within your purview, within the ecosystem that people want to build in Ethereum. Is there anything that is more on the popular side that you're seeing a lot of interest on the developer, and do you also suggest to the developer community like what is it that they should be looking at as a way? Because I think some of the ideas that float out are things that intersect with the real world. So there's always going to be regulation that comes in the way, or even like adoption. There's a lot of legacy systems that are already in place that prevents the adoption of blockchain. I wonder if that is an impediment towards the adoption, and also alongside what developer are interested in building for the space.
I think one thing that is interesting, I mean, zero knowledge proofs clearly are a very interesting use case, and I think that it's a primitive that we can start looking at building a lot more use cases on, particularly because the blockchain is immutable, but if you have zero knowledge proofs, you can be able to prove that you've done things in a privacy preserving way. And I think that there are a lot of use cases that we can't even conceive of yet, just because once you have this primitive and people are able to start building on that, where they're able to prove things without leaking information, without leaking things that give away information about their transactions, about their identities, but yet you can trust that the outcome is correct. provably. I think that this allows us to build things that it's kind of like being able to transactions that were enabled on the internet with HTTPS because you were able to do things securely. I think that once we have more privacy preserving primitives in place, it allows us to build a whole new layer of applications that we can't even conceive of now.
Got it. And I wanted to move on to Pranshu and Victor. In your perspective, like, have you faced? I mean, your protocol is running live now, and then we have the merge happening. Like, maybe you can just share your experience to the developer in the room. Like, when there's an event like this, has it been very, very like a lot of pressure for you to figure out, like, okay, is my dApp going to continue to work? Is there going to be some unknowns or bugs that's going to occur? Maybe you can just walk through your experience, and if there were to be a new upgrade, if our developer were to choose to build in any chains, including Ethereum, anything else, and there were to be a main milestone like this, how would they prepare and how would they de-risk themselves in this? Maybe Victor, you can start first.
The preparations for the merge event is actually one of very interesting event in Kyber. So we had a teams. We planned to bring down the whole service like during the events because like who knows what happened, right? So we kind of like prepare for that. But then the events moved and everything was so smooth, and we just like shut it down for just like a few minutes, and then we get it back up. It's a very pleasant, very good moment that we built and that we have seen. But something that is a little bit more interesting and a little bit controversial for Kyber is, so there was Ethereum proof of work kind of thing, right? We all know that. So we decide to support that for only 1 month because like users they have the right to sell all the tokens there for ETH, and that is a little bit like an airdrop for them, right? We try to support that, and we try to running all the nodes and things like that, and then after a few hours we was able to support that for a month. That was a very good experience. Like people was going to Kyber Swap trying to use that. So far, no bugs. That's a very good thing.
Yeah. Pranshu?
Yeah, I guess like there are two perspectives for this. Like as a EPNS company, how we see like how it affected, or what are the changes that happened from the user's perspective. One of them is, of course, like, who are interacting directly through dApp. Okay, they have nothing to do directly through the nodes and everything, right? So in a sense, like, even like I previously mentioned that Beacon chain is already running parallelly, and like, all the existing data is there. So from a user perspective, like, I guess nothing changed beside, of course, testnet has been deprecated. Now we have like Gorilla and Sapoli. So, like if I say like, hey, I own X amount of Ether, or like I'm able to send notification or communicate through a dApp, like do I need to make some changes, or maybe should I get like different Ether in my wallet? So the of course answer is no. There is no ETH1, ETH2.0 in terms of the name. Okay, for the user like who are consuming the dApps, everything is mostly same. Okay, just the testnet changes. And as a company, of course, we have also, shifted to Gorilla for the obvious reason, like the previous one were deprecated. Now coming from someone who are running nodes, I guess like you will be the best person for that. But just to answer that now, like, we have a different consensus and the execution layer. So it has been already like, proven that like all have upgraded their nodes, and it was done like, very smoothly. So if you want to add to that, like on the nodes perspective, yeah.
Definitely there is a change from the perspective of whoever runs the nodes. It was simpler before. So when you wanted to observe the network and participate in this decentralizing aspect of verifying the chain yourself, you would spawn the execution client. You would wait a long time for synchronization, most likely. I mean, with some synchronization solutions, maybe 2 hours. and you would be there. Now you have to launch the execution client, consensus client, configure them to work together, and we see it as a significantly increased complexity. So there are tools to support it, like Sage, like other solutions. But the fact that you need a tool to help you to set everything up, as previously you could just download and run, it's a bit of degraded user experience. However, we think of the users that are slightly more advanced, right? Not someone who wants to send a transaction, but someone who says, hey, I want to participate in the network and the decentralization effort. But the upgrade itself was very well communicated. There was lots of education. There were some users that were caught with this, hey, like, do I have to run something more? And after the merge, their nodes stopped verifying. It was not risky for the network itself, but there was definitely some disappointment that something changes and people didn't pick it up.
All right. So, yeah, I think we want to touch on the final topic here regarding gaming, right? So I think in the last 1 year, there's been a lot of investment that pours into the gaming space. I think even in Vietnam as well, there's a lot of GameFi projects. There's a lot of game studios here, and a lot of the games that came into blockchain pre-2020, a lot of them started off their route in the Ethereum chain, and then a lot of them decided to move and migrate out to the other chains. There could be some good things over there, there could be some setbacks there. Now that we have rollups in place, we have the merge that have occurred already, and I wonder if you guys can make any prediction on how the landscape will look like. Obviously, right now, the game space is not the most, not exactly doing so well, but we have seen some use cases and some opportunities regarding gaming using blockchain. Do you think that there's going to be a migration back to the Ethereum chain with also like app-specific roll-up chains as well? Would there be a game-specific chain like with identity and privacy? Like, do you see this as the primitives that would form something bigger? And also the fact there's a lot of interest in this region as well. Anybody want to take this? Yep. Yeah. No?
Yeah, because I'm doing Asia strategy, so I did have a lot of statistics that I made myself in the past 18 months. If you see in terms of number, I would say total dollar raised for Asian projects in the next 18 months, you can see up to 70% of the dollar raised in Asia goes to centralized solution and Web3 game. And this is actually quite stable in the past 18 months. However, for what happened within this 70% has been changed a lot. So I think I remember the data in the first quarter of 2021, it's like over 50% is centralized exchange or centralized service. But now I think the latest statistics I made for second quarter this year, like centralized service only account like 20% or even lower in terms of total fund raised for Asian projects. While GameFi or Web3 game, and even now, I think start from early this year, we see tools, or it's called Game OS. So these kinds of ecosystem got big fund raised in Asia. I'm not saying it's not happening in US and Europe, but there also a lot of big money goes to centralized solution there. But only in Asia, you see the pie chart. If you got the pie chart, game counts as the majority part in Asia. That's some very interesting observation, and it only happens in Asia. And another interesting thing we notice is that most of the time when we think about the technology ecosystem, one signal to showing that this is a soundable business or a sustainable business is that we start to see tools and infrastructure happening in this ecosystem and perform as a single service provider. And we start to see that since early this year. That's why, at least from consensus perspective, we categorize this as a top use case. And you see that in the statistics of MetaMask, when MetaMask announced is 6 years old. So we see these innovations happening in Asia. We see the soundness of it. We believe there's reason and mechanics happening for decentralized finance plus entertainment so that we can have the settlement happening in the internet. So that's how we believe that this is a soundable business.
Got it. Anyone else who wants to chime in?
Yeah, I mean, recently, like just the fact that here the Asian region is so big on games, on metaverse, and exploration of that aspects. We've seen a lot of creative and powerful game developers in this region, and they are getting more and more interested in the decentralized solution, as I see confirmation. So I had a pleasure to visit South Korea recently, now here in Vietnam, and you see those powerful startups here coming with an idea for the product and using the latest tools. If you have opportunity to see what Topology and Guilty Gyoza are building, the idea of the engine on Starknet, and maybe solutions like Improbable going to the blockchain space with tens of thousands of players being able to participate in events smoothly, with engines being able to process it very well. I think that, and also with the AI creative solutions like Stable Diffusion, I think all of that together will bring a massive jump in the next 1, 2, 3 years. So big expectations, big hopes.
Thank you. We have time for one more last call if anybody wants to take it. Yeah.
Okay. I don't really have the macro views as in consensus, but I do have a micro view because I was in a very close relationship with Cypher. Cypher is one of the game which has raised a lot of money, and because the team was trying to figure out like what chains to go, and the most obvious questions that take into account is actually the price, actually the cost for users to trade between NFT and things like that. So so the cost is really the things, and I think BSC, Binance Chains, is the way to go for the game because of the cost, right? But I believe this is not the answer. So the answer, so the question is, do we see any possibilities for the GameFi to move back to Ethereum, right? I do see there. I do see the possibilities because GameFi is actually really related to NFT, right? And NFT we have, we can classify them into a few categories. The first one is PFP1, which is the NFT that represent you, represents something for you, which can be a game character or can be an avatar or something like that. And for that, it can be suitable for casual game and the game that is more on collective and things like that. It can be on Ethereum because like the value for the NFT and the game character is a lot, and people value higher the security there. So security is in Ethereum, and also the liquidity is for the NFT is value higher there, instead of like the volume for the transactions and the ways for people to transfer the NFT. But for the games that is focusing more on the game user experience, the gaming feeling, and they really want to build the whole economics in the games with NFT, with a lot of NFT and a lot of like NFT flow, and then the cheaper chains, for example, layer 2, layer 3, or the other alternative L1 is still better than L1, Ethereum L1 right now.
Got it. Yeah, thanks a lot for that thought. I think like today, just to summarize, we actually covered like a pretty broad range of topic. Obviously, there's a lot to unpack here. We talk about post-merge, what is to come for Ethereum, what the roll-ups will look like, and we talk about problems that developers are facing, what they should be building, and also about GameFi. I hope that this panel drops a little bit of nuggets here and there that you can proceed to do additional research on your own to figure out if you want to build in this space, or maybe reach out to the speaker if there's any things that you want to get more. But other than that, like, yeah, appreciate all the thoughts from Thomas, Laura, Pranshu, Victor, and Dustin as well, and appreciate their input in helping us unpack like what is to come for Ethereum. And thank you all for joining us in this session, and I hope you all enjoy the rest of the conference today. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.